CWU, Billy Hayes, General Secretary, Communication Worker Union.
Thanks very much, Trina, and thanks for the opportunity to say a few words. It's great to be back in Liverpool and to see some old comrades. CWU, Gary Booth, former works for Steve Rotherham now, and of course Steve Higginson, who gave me this book a few years ago, long time ago, about the National Front. Because when I was a local activist, not a rep, we didn't just have fascist members, we had fascist staff reps. One was a guy called Mick Holmes, who worked in Prescott, and somebody else who worked in the old parcel office. So we've had the experience of fascism. I haven't got the time to go into some of that history, but obviously Tony Kearns, who's the National Treasurer of the CWU, sends his best wishes. But listen to the contributions, and of course, talking a little bit about Ireland earlier on, and Irish racism. Of course, we are in the area where we used to have an Irish Nationalist MP, T.P. O'Connor his name was. When the Free State came in 1922, it changed its name from the Irish Nationalist Party to the Catholic Party, and then became the Labour Party in 1930, and then was represented, of course, famously by Betty Braddock. So the history of this city is a very complex history in terms of events, whether that be to do with Ireland, the only city in England that's ever had an Irish Nationalist MP, or whether it's to do with racism, the oldest black population in Britain. We vie with Bristol and Cardiff for that honour. But when I was a postman many years ago, we had 4,000 workers. 4,000 workers. How many black postmen? How many? One. And have a guess where that black postman delivered? South End. And have a guess where about in the South End? Granby Street. Right? So, you know, and we took steps then as a union to confront the fascists in the workplace. But I want to today just talk about stressing the continuity of the campaign against fascism, and also what we do absolutely makes a difference. It struck me, listening to this campaign, excellent initiative to start so soon about getting rid of Nick Griffin. It reminded me a little bit of how we got rid of Derek Beacon many years ago in Tower Hamlets, the National Front there. And we've had lots of successes. In Manchester Central by-election, this is the BNP, they received 3% of the vote. Obviously that's too much, but that's not where they were in previous times. And in Ardwick, by-election saw their candidate humiliated with just 1.8% of the vote. And it's fallen apart, obviously, and because of their soulmates, who's one of the leaders is in prison at the moment, we've done a lot of good work. And I have to say, and I'm also, for my pains, the TUC's European spokesperson, I've done a lot better in this country on fascism and defeating the far right than a lot of other countries. So we've had lots of victories in Tower Hamlets, in Bradford, Leicester, Walthamstow, Gloucester and Brighton. And they're being constantly humiliated, and it's taken its toll, and we see lots of infighting in particular within the EDL. But the conditions which stimulate fascist growth, and obviously looking forward to a renewal. And one of the targets at the moment, when I was in a cab coming here, a guy said to me, one away from my mother-in-law's, he said, "What do you think about the Poles?" "What do you mean?" You know, I said, "Well, you know, it's nice to," and so obviously that foundation is still there. But of course, the main focus at the moment for the fascists is Muslims, and Muslims are the scapegoats. And obviously, Muslims at the moment is their big focus. You know, we've seen them getting footholds of fascists. For example, Nick Griffin has recently been offered a platform in the Leeds student paper, and a similar place has been given in the Cardiff Student Union's paper. So we need to tackle them there. So what we do makes a difference. We are not spectators. We are participants, and everything that we do. And you know, this month is Islamophobia month, and we've got there's an exhibition going around, and we need to make sure that we continue to heighten the extent of the Islamophobia. You know, given a nod and wink by Cameron when he said multiculturalism has failed. I mean, if there's one thing that's, you know, I've lived in London now 20 years. It's one of the great things about London is how diverse it is. And it's not just a good thing in a kind of peachy, creamy type way, isn't it, quite nice, that we all get along together. It's also a good thing dynamically, because when you have diversity, you get diverse decisions. When you have diversity, you get stronger and better decisions. If you listen to, if you listen to a load of middle-aged men, have a guess what they talk about. I speak as one. You talk about middle-aged men's problems. But if you have a diverse and a diversity amongst who you have in terms of your leadership and your country, it's better economically, why London's one of the most dynamic cities, even now in amidst this sort of recession. So it actually makes a difference in terms of diversity. It struck me before when people were getting up and they were talking about I'm a second generation Irish person. Sort of a little bit, getting a tiny bit like what it is. Well, you just walked in, round of applause for Wayman. We can all play that game in terms of Scottish Protestant, Irish Catholic, Welsh, whatever. The fact of the matter is, diversity gives us great strength in terms of not just economically, socially, and every other way. And Griffin and his ilk and like are the antithesis of that. They are about, if you like, the forces of darkness that, somehow or other, the way I get on is by being bigger and stronger than somebody else. And like the Dylan song, the poor white man's views are used as a tool. The laws are with him to protect his white skin, that he never thinks straight about the fate that he's in. He's only a pawn in the game. That's what racism and fascism does, it divides us. And I think it's a fantastic initiative, especially because I get to come up to Liverpool as well, to speak here today. But I think it's a fantastic initiative, and I think we can get this fella out, this Griffin out. So the CWU, we're doing its part together, and I think that if there's one thing we need to do, focus on what unites us, not on what divides us. That was the success of the Tower Outlets campaign. That was the success, we had made mention of it today, the Dagenham campaign, whether that be Margaret Hodge or whether that was John Quincy. What unites us is, and the fact of the matter is, we can defeat this fascism if we stand united together. So it's Nick Griffin now. Thank you very much.